Okay, so this video tutorial is going to be specifically how to do some things for week 3 in our ADL634 course. So we're looking at this phase 2 of mini course right here. So these things right here. So I'm going to go over a few of these things, just to do a quick tutorial on how to do these things. So excuse me, here we are in my sample Moodle course. So this is not really a Moodle course that teaches you much of anything, but it does show you an example of how to, put some of these elements into a course like this. So one of the first things that's on there is to embed an image into your course. So as usual, you're going to have to turn on your editing here. So I'll say turn editing on. And give that a second. So the page will refresh. So the page will refresh right here, and then I'm going to go back up to the top. And when I go back up to the top, I'm going to need to edit this page right here. So I'm looking specifically for this little gear button here where I edit this. So I'm just editing right directly on this page right here, just this stuff right here, not on any other link or anything, just this first page that comes up. So I'll click on that edit right there. And then from here, I'm going to want to edit an image. So from here, I'm going to look for this button right here that says Insert Edit Image. It's kind of right next to this little, movie, sort of thing, picture, but you should be able to find that one fairly easily. So you click on Insert Edit Image. And then if you have your own image here that you're going to put on your course, and you click on Find, you're then going to say Browse. I need to go find an image. So you need to remember where your image is. So you might have to navigate to one of these folders on your desktop or wherever you've saved your picture. So you'll want to pay attention to that. So I'm going to go ahead and take the National University logo here, and I just double click on that. After I double click on that, I'm going to give this a name so that in Moodle, I can recognize this again, because I should be able to go find this again if I wanted to, without having to upload it, if I wanted to use that image again, in another place. So then I'll say upload this file. I'll click on that, and there it is right there. From here, there are a few different things that you can do with this image. One, you can put a description there right there. So I'll just say NU logo. And then I can go to the appearance here, and I can this right here. The dimensions is going to be how big the image is. So the bigger the number here, the bigger the image will be. And it says constrain proportions there. And I believe what that will do is it'll keep the image in proportions. So if you make it a little taller, it'll also make it a little bit wider, or vice versa. So there's some different things that you can do with this image right here. I'm just going to go ahead and say insert. I'm done working with that. I just want to insert it onto my page. So I inserted it right there, and then there it is. So that's how you insert an image. And notice it just went exactly where my cursor was too. So if I wanted it down here, I would have just put my cursor down there. And then of course the last thing I'm going to do is just click on Save Changes right here. So it'll save those changes, and then I can go check out and see how it looks on my page, which there it is right there. Okay, so one of the next things is that you are required to embed a Web 2.0 activity. So a lot of things, when you go use these Web 2.0 types of things, they will have a feature, if you want to call it that, called embed code. So they'll give you a little HTML code that you don't really need to know much about, but if you can copy the code, then you can insert it into different areas. So we're kind of talking about something like this. So if I go to week 3, you'll notice this video right here that I did, this pre-recorded webinar, is not a link to YouTube or something like that. It's embedded directly into the page. So that's kind of an example of how that works. So if I go down here, I have the same thing in my sample Moodle course here. And one of the things I've done is I've taken a Google form and I've embedded that directly into my Moodle course. So instead of having, again, a link to a Google form that would open up, as a full page kind of thing, it's directly right here. So, an example would be of the other thing is, the other type is you would have a link like to my Pinterest board right there, and then you would click on that and it would open up the Google form. So we don't want to do that. We want to embed the activity directly onto your page like this. So the form is just right here, and you can actually just fill this form out, say, oh, there's my favorite movie, and then click on next, and it will go to the next thing. And you can submit your form and work on the form right here. So that's kind of an explanation of how that form works. So let's look and see, how did I do that on my Moodle page? Okay, so here's my Google form that I've created right here. Okay, there's my form. So I'm going to go ahead and share this form. So what I do right there is I click on send. And then after I click on send, I'm going to get a few different choices here. So I can send it by email. I can make a link to it, which is the other way we were just talking about. I could just copy this, and it would make a link to the form. And then after I clicked on that link, I would be looking at something that looks like this right here. I would click on the link, and this would open up full screen like this. So in my Moodle course goes away at that point. So we don't want to do that, though. We want to embed that form directly onto my page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on send right here. And then after I click on send, I get those choices again, and I've got these like two arrows here that kind of face opposite directions. So I'm going to click on that, and here's the code. And like I said, you really don't need to know HTML. You just need to copy this code. One thing you might want to be aware of is this is the width and the height. So the width and the height is going to look, the default is going to be how it looked on my page. So it's going to be this size right here. This might be a little bit small, so I can click on back and see if it goes back. But yeah, it's going to be this width and this height. That's how big it's going to be on the default, at least on my monitor. It might look a little bit different on your monitor, but that's the width and the height right there. So if you want to change that, you could make these numbers bigger or smaller, and then the form embedded within your Moodle course would look bigger or smaller. So I'm just going to say copy right here, and then I'm going to go back to my course. And then from there, and then what I'll do is I will go ahead and go to week 4, click on this little gear icon again. You can see I deleted the other poll that was there before as I was kind of setting this up for you and practicing it. So I have just the word test right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put a title and say like my favorite movie. And then I'm going to go ahead and click. You may or may not have noticed this HTML button right there. And many sites like this will have this type of button where you can actually insert some HTML. So if you know a little bit of HTML, you can click on this, and you'll see like there's the paragraph. The letter P and the /P there says this is a paragraph, and you started the paragraph and stopped the paragraph. And then it's set up for the next thing right here. So if you know a little bit of HTML, you can kind of go in there and play around with that. So I'm just going to go to the end of whatever's here, okay, or wherever I want the form to be. If I wanted it to be above my favorite movie right there, I would just make a space above it, right? Because it's going to show up wherever I put it, okay? So then, remember, I copied that embed code, they call it. I copied all that, that source, those words that I saw before. Then I'm just going to paste right there. I just use Control-V, or I'm sure you can right-click here and say paste. And then here's that embed code. So again, if you know a little bit about HTML, you can kind of see the width and the height there, and that you can manipulate that if you're comfortable with that. And then I'm going to go ahead and say update. So I just click on update, and then you can see there's my form right there. It's now embedded directly onto that page. So I'm just going to say save changes. And when I say save changes, I should be able to go down to week 4 right here, and I should see my form, which is right there. So that's just one way to embed a Web 2.0 type of thing into your Moodle course. So what you're looking for is you're looking for something called embed code on whatever application you're working on. For instance, I know Flipgrid has some embed code, features and things like that. So you're looking for that term embed code. Okay, and then another thing that you're asked to do is you're asked to add a quiz to it, some sort of assessment. So I'm going to go ahead and right here, I've started one right here, but I'll go ahead and just delete that one because we want to go ahead and start, show you from scratch. So to add a quiz, what you're going to be looking for is you're going to go back to here and you're going to look where it says add an activity. So I'm working in week 4 right here. So I'm going to go to the bottom of week 4 and I'm going to say add an activity. And when I click on add an activity, one of the choices is going to be a quiz. So I'm going to go ahead and say quiz right here. And then I'm going to be presented with a screen that gives me some options for the quiz. So for instance, you'll want to have a title. So I'm just going to put in sample quiz right here. You can put a description if you want to, but you don't really have to. Then I can change, there's lots of options you can change right here. So I can go in here and say, do I want to only have the quiz open for between certain dates? Do I want to give them a time limit? Things like that. So you can change that if you want to. You don't have to, but you can. There's all different kinds of things that you can change here that you want to probably just check out. Do you want to shuffle the questions when they're reviewing, their scores, things like that? How do you want to do that? I'm trying to think of some of the things. You want to require a password. There's all kinds of things that you can change right here. But I'm just going to say save that. I'll just keep it, the basic, settings. So I'll say save that. And then you have to actually add some questions. I just have the quiz set up. You would think the questions would be right there where I was setting it up, but it adds the quiz. And then there's probably a couple different ways to do this, but if I just click on my sample quiz now, it's going to basically say you don't have any questions. Well, okay, duh. I didn't add any questions, so you just say edit quiz right here. So you're going to click on edit quiz. And when you click on Edit Quiz, you can go ahead and start saving questions right here. There's going to be a maximum grade you can put in there. So, depending on how many points you want each quiz to be, or how much each question, how many points you want it to be, things like that. So, and then I can pick different types of questions. I'm going to pick a true/false question here, and just click on Next. And it's going to go ahead and give me some options again right here. So question name, I'll go ahead and say question number 1, and then go here and say, is Star Wars the best movie of all time? Playing off my other form there. I'm going to say, okay, correct answer is true. I can put some feedback right there, feedback for the response. True, I could say, great, glad you agree. Or if they say false, I can say something like, are you sure? Okay, whatever. I can just add feedback right there, which is nice to give some feedback during the assessment. And I've got some other, options that I can put in here. But I'm just going to go ahead and say save changes. You can add other questions. Obviously, continue to add questions. Here's my first question, so I can say add question right here. Okay. And then essentially you are done at that point. And then, of course, if you want to go see what your quiz looks like, you can go ahead and click on Sample Quiz. And since you are the creator of this, I already went in and I previewed it, so I'll say continue the last preview. Usually it'll say something about just preview. So here's your questions right here, and you can see what your quiz looks like. So I selected true, click on next, there we go, and I can say submit all and finish. I'm just going to try it out right here, give me a little warning. Okay, and then it shows you how it, even as my feedback right there, shows you how that works. So you can check it out before you assign it. And then another thing to know is if I now want to go add more questions, I'm not done with my quiz, I would have to click on sample quiz here again, and it's going to say, okay, you can preview this quiz. This is what happened last time. So now I would need to say edit quiz right here over on the right side, and I can continue to edit the quiz. Another thing that it says here, one more thing that it says here for this assignment is to add a grade, to make sure your grade book is there with at least one item in it. So basically what happens is as you add things like a quiz, and I added an assignment here, so to add this assignment, I just clicked on add an activity, set assignment, and then you're going to design your assignment right here. So I'd say, sample assignment number 2. I can say a description, sample for grade book. And again, I've got all kinds of options that I can put in here. One of the things you'll want to notice is the grade. I can say, well, I only want this worth, 10 points. This is a small assignment. There's all kinds of, options that you can display here. But basically what happens is when I add that assignment and I say save, then that assignment not only shows up here, you'd obviously want to have more than I have right here, because students would click on this and they would see the assignment that you have, which is another thing that's in here. It's going to, let's see, 3 activities and or assignments is for week 3. So you're going to want to add these things. So once you add them, basically when you go to grades over here, this is the grade book, just like we have in Blackboard. So when you click on grades, you'll see that these things are automatically added right here. And as students do them, as students are assigned to your class, they would show up in here. So that should meet that requirement for the grade book with 1 item. Okay, so that's about it. And hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.